My name is Britney King, and on May 28th, 2018, I lost my father to gun violence. My father's name was Curtis McCollum, and he was a 48-year-old taxi driver for the city of Winston-Salem, North Carolina. My father was a good man, a hardworking man, and someone who was just making an honest living for himself. And he was loved by the community, he was loved by his colleagues, and he was a good person. We did not have a close relationship, but that does not mean that he deserved to lose his life. And he was a taxi driver for a classic cab company for 15 years. So he was a dedicated man to this company, and I know that this loss was hard for them as well. My father, we did not have a close relationship, but the times that we did hang out and see each other, they were good. He bought me a DVD player from Walmart. I had never had a portable DVD player before, and he was the first one to buy that for me. He took me to Walmart and bought other stuff. He, gave me tips on my skincare when I was a teenager and going through my acne phase. He gave me tips on skincare. He took me to CVS and bought me skincare items. He wanted to be helpful for me for my skincare. And when I was a teenager, he painted my room a Barbie pink color. I wanted my room to be Barbie pink, and he painted that for me. And of course, I took rides in his cab because he was homeless and he did not have a vehicle of his own. So he actually lived in his taxi cab. He drove the taxi cab as a personal vehicle as well as his work vehicle because he was homeless for some time and didn't have his own vehicle or house at some point. And the way that I found out that my father was killed, it was the next day that this event occurred. It was the morning of May 29th, 2018, and my aunt had called my grandmother. My aunt saw it on the news, and she called my grandmother, told my grandmother, and my grandmother then told me. I lived with my grandmother. I was raised by my grandmother. So the morning of May 29th, she came to my room, she came to my doorstep, and she said, "I have something to tell you." And I saw the concern on her face. She said, "I want you to turn on the news." And I'm thinking, the first thing I said was, is it about Dominique? That is my older brother. We are 3 years apart. Is it about him? I was scared for him, and that was my first thought. And she said, "No." And I'm thinking, what is it? And she said, "I want you to turn on the news." And when she said that, it was like, what does something on the news have to do with me? And I thought, oh, this is bigger than what I thought. This is serious if it's on the news. So I turned on the Channel 12 news, and I'm waiting and waiting for this big news or whatever. And I see a picture of my father on the TV screen, and it says, "Taxi driver shot and killed."
Back in the triad tonight, police in Winston-Salem are working to find the person who shot and killed a city taxi driver. Officers found Curtis McCollum lying on Barbara Jane Avenue at around 10 o'clock last night, not far from his cab. He drove taxis in this area for many, many years. Janae Lewis spoke with his boss about what this loss means not just to the company, but to the whole community. She joins us now from police headquarters. Janae.
Well, it's really a tough day for everyone who works at Classic Cab Company in Winston-Salem. That's because this is the second driver that they've lost since March. The owner tells me that both men extremely hardworking and very dedicated to their job, so they are really feeling this loss. Most recently, 48-year-old Curtis McCollum is the one who was shot and killed last night, according to police. His owner, Barry Abdul, says that he's from Winston-Salem and has been driving cabs for the last 20 years. What's especially difficult for them right now is all the questions. They don't know why or how this happened, and tonight they especially heard from McCollum's family.
And it was heart-wrenching. It was very sad because he was one of my longest-serving cab drivers since 2010. He's been with me. You know, every time we needed him, he was there, especially when we short on drivers during snow time.
Now, police are still very early in their investigation, so at this point, no word on a motive or any possible suspects. As soon as we learn that information, we'll definitely update you. Reporting live in Winston-Salem, I'm Janae Lewis, WXII 12 News.
I was speechless at that point, and I didn't know what to think. I had to process what happened and did I really lose my father? My father is on TV. I never thought that I would lose anyone to gun violence, let alone it be my father. It just didn't make any sense. And I started doing research, and he was shot multiple times, and there is no motive for the reason that someone did this. I don't know if it was an attempted robbery. I don't know if it was an attempted car theft. I don't know if he exchanged words with someone and they decided to shoot him. But most likely somebody wanted money from him since they saw a cab driver. And he was in a resting spot that night, probably going to sleep in his cab. And someone probably thought, oh, there's money, let me kill him. Or maybe they just wanted the money and he decided to fight back and they decided to kill him. I don't know. There is no motive announced for the reason that someone killed my father, and they shot him multiple times.
Time in 3 months, Winston-Salem police are investigating the murder of a taxi cab driver. The latest happened last night when police found Curtis McCollum shot in the road near his taxi. Police said he died at the scene, and the search is on for a suspect. WFMY News 2's Hannah Brewer spoke with the owner of Classic Cab Company, who is now mourning the loss of a second driver.
Classic Cab owner Barry Abdul tells me the first incident happened in March. One of his drivers, Richard Webb, was shot in the back by his passenger in the middle of the night. Now Abdul is reliving the tragedy.
I started to panic. It was all over again, the same nightmare. I rushed in to get in my car and went to that place.
McCollum was found shot to death outside his cab in the 700 block of Barbara Jane Avenue in Winston-Salem. A family friend, Regina Books, says McCollum was homeless and had been sleeping in his car. Hearing the news was difficult.
It was hard. It was really hard because I've known Curtis through the years, through his trials and tribulations of being homeless and everything.
Police are in the early stages of this investigation. In the meantime, Abdul is taking steps to keep his drivers safe, telling them to always check in with him when they clock in and out.
The morale is very, very low. It's been terrible. Now, every time my drivers are on the road, I can't rest until I make sure they're back home safe.
If you know anything that could help Winston-Salem police find McCollum's killer, call Winston-Salem Crime Stoppers. The number is 727-2800.
So how I dealt with the grief of my father, I was upset with God that he would take my father too, because I lost my mom when I was 11 years old. She overdosed on pain pills. So I already lost my mother when I was 11. So I'm 21 and I lose my father and I'm upset with God. And it's like, so you're not going to let me have either parent? You're just going to take them both? I was very upset, and how I coped with the grief of my father was to realize that I'm still a child of God, and to know that God still loves me despite the trials and tribulations that he puts on me. I know that God gives his toughest battles to his strongest soldiers, so I must be one of them. And what also helped me cope with the grief of my father was to realize that all I had left was my grandmother. My grandmother raised me since I was a baby, since I was born. So she was everything to me. She was my mother, my father, my grandmother, my grandfather. She was everything. So I looked around and I said, that's all I have left, and I'm okay with that. As long as I have her, I'm okay. And God really, really blessed me when he gave me her. I had no clue that another taxi driver for the same company, Classic Cab Company, was shot and killed 2 months earlier. I had no idea about that murder as well. He was shot in the back by his passenger, and I had no clue. And I just can't believe that 2 men were shot and killed with the same company, and in a 3-month time span. I had no idea until I saw it on the news, and I am sorry for Richard Webb's family as well. And Richard Webb's murder was solved, was brought to justice. His killer was arrested, but my father, no killer was arrested.
My heart started racing because I knew that same thing all over again.
48-year-old Curtis McCollum was homeless, but not hopeless.
He was literally living in his car because he, through hardship.
He was working, trying to get back on his feet, and in the meantime,
check for a cab driver laying outside the vehicle.
He was living where he worked, inside his Classic Cab Company cab.
222 kilos, CPR in progress.
But late Monday night, someone with a gun shot and left him lying in the middle of Barbara Jane Avenue in Winston-Salem.
I seen him so often, I just figured maybe he lived down that way.
For McCollum's boss and friend Barry Abdul,
I raced there was a police barricade and everything else.
It's deja vu of the worst kind.
This is the second driver I've lost in less than 3 months.
On March 8th, another one of his drivers was killed, a 49-year-old named Richard Dorman Webb.
We do our best to serve the community, and in return, this is what we get.
Police arrested a 25-year-old for Webb's death and don't believe the 2 murders are connected.
And it hasn't been easy at all. It has not been easy. It's terrible.
But that provides little peace of mind for Abdul and his employees.
The whole staff is shaken.
People who saw McCollum parking on Barbara Jane between or after fares,
Anywhere you go when something happens, it's close to everyone.
say he was a nice guy who kept to himself.
And that is kind of shocking to me. It makes me want to be a little more careful to when I come out my door.
A sentiment echoed by his boss, who's now asking for help getting justice before another person becomes another random victim.
If it's not a cab driver, it's going to be somebody else.
My father's case is still unsolved, and his killer was not brought to justice yet or at all. But maybe God handled it in his own way. I don't know, but there was no justice for my father's murder. Yes, and what I know that I have to do for my parents, for my grandmother, I know they want me to still live my life. They still want me to find joy in this world. They still would want me to find happiness in this world. And that is what I will continue to do. I will continue to live my life for them in their name. Thank you.